GM, good morning. Welcome to the Milk Road Show, the daily crypto show where we bring you crypto news as dependable as pretending not to see someone at the grocery store. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton, and today we are joined by Kyle Reidhead, co-owner and head of research at Milk Road. It's Bitcoin all-time high day. Let's go. Everything is green and the markets are looking good. Solana in particular has been ripping. The whole ecosystem is on fire. So today we're going to talk about how can you get more exposure to the Solana ecosystem. We know you guys are all bullish on Solana, but what if you want to go further down the risk curve into tokens and projects within Solana? Before we jump in, really exciting news. This week, we have a Milk Road Pro AMA. Now, unfortunately, this is only for our Milk Road Pro members. So if you're not a member, consider going pro today by hitting the link in the show notes so you can get direct access to Kyle and the rest of our Milk Road Pro research team. Ask them questions. It's an hour-long session. There's always a ton of people to show up. It's a ton of fun, and it's jam-packed with information. That session is going to be on October 30th at 12 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss out. Also, before we jump in, we got to take a minute to hear from our sponsors at Uphold. Meet Uphold, a trading platform that's changing the way you think about money. Imagine this, earning up to 4.9% APY on your US dollars. No catches, no lockup periods, and no fees. And yes, it's FDIC insured up to $2.5 million. They offer access to over 300 digital assets, which you can trade, store, and exchange with confidence, knowing Uphold operates with a 100% reserve and a transparent model. Create your account, fund it with a few taps, and you're ready to go. Click the link in the description and join Uphold today. Kyle, welcome back to the show.
What's going on, my man?
It's great to have you, dude. Okay, Bitcoin's pumping, but we're not talking about Bitcoin today. They're not the only ones that are pumping right now. Solana is just the it thing. Feels like the hottest thing since sliced bread. People tweeting about economic value hitting all-time highs. I think the question that we've seen a lot through our community is, okay, I'm already in Solana, but what are the other projects that I could get into? So I know we're going to give everybody a list of other tokens that we like, but before we jump into the tokens we like, how does somebody think about investing in the Solana ecosystem? What would be the process you would go through to evaluate opportunities there?
Yeah, great question. So Solana obviously is an L1, and it's building a big ecosystem. And what you want to figure out is, where is that ecosystem going, right? And if you start to understand the trends of that and kind of how it's being built out, you might be able to figure out where to allocate capital. Now, I would say the first and most obvious thing is you can also just hold SOL. You do not have, I mean, I know that the title of this is going to be like top 5 tokens to invest in Solana and blah, blah, blah. And people are going to be like, where should I put my money? It's like the easiest thing is like, if SOL's doing good, you can just buy SOL. It's actually that simple. And so like, I really empower people. Like, that's probably the better move here. That's probably going to get you the best results. And it's just the easiest. You don't even have to really think about it. You know, to pump our bags a little bit, last year, our very first pro report was, or sorry, I think it was our second pro report, was written about Solana when it was at $8. And we said, look, if Solana figures it out and they kind of battle through this bear market, what happened with FTX, this thing's going to come back, and it's going to come back like crazy. And we never said to buy at that point at $8. But we did later on, a few months later, give the call when Solana was at $20, said, hey, guys, now's the time. Solana ecosystem's going to go. Like, you need to buy this thing. It's very similar to Ethereum last cycle, where it was like everyone thought it was dead. And then it just kind of like took off, and it went from $20 to, I don't even know, like close to $200 in a matter of a few months. And it was kind of just obvious if you compare it to Ethereum. And I think you can do the similar thing today, where when we look at what Solana's doing, it's this it's got a ton of activity. It's got a ton of users. And I put that in quotations because we don't know if these are real users, if they're bots, if they're AI agents, like we don't know what they are, or someone just making a gajillion wallets. But it doesn't really matter because, like you said, we're going all-time highs right now for economic value, meaning people are paying to actually use this chain. And that is your signal like, hey, there is something here. And it doesn't matter what those things are, but if people are paying to use the chain, it means that something's working and there's someone making money. Otherwise, people wouldn't be paying for this stuff, right? And if you look, Jay has up on the screen right now what's called the real economic value, which is basically looking at transaction fees plus tips, which is basically people can pay a tip to get their transaction done faster. And then also you have sort of like the MEV side of things as well in here. And so that is just at absolute all-time highs. It's crushing it over what are we at? Like 50 million in the last
55 million in the last week.
Wow, that's incredible. Which is just an all-time high by a ton for Solana. The previous all-time high was, the week before that, which was like 36, 37 million, let's call it. And then before that, we never really reached above. We were just always a little bit above 20 million. It was the highest we could get to. But to be doing that now, where like we were in a bit of a euphoric moment early this year and like late last year. And so like activity was crazy. Now it's kind of like things have kind of settled down. People don't really know what's going on, although prices are starting to go up again. And we're already that high in economic activity. It's a really big deal. And so the question is, where's this activity coming from? And if you want to share a screen again, we have a chart up here that we've got from Blockworks, which is quite interesting, which looks at the DEX volume. And if you look at the DEX volume, which means where most of the trades and activity happening on chain, what is it? 75% is coming from memes. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but you can see that Pumped Up Fun is 45% of all activity. So memes that came from Pumped Up Fun. And then 30% is from other memes that are not from Pumped Up Fun. And then the other largest percent, which is 17%, is just people trading SOL. So SOL to USD or just SOL moving around. And so that's like close to 95% that comes from memes and just trading SOL and nothing more. Now, the reason why I say it's nice to compare back to Ethereum is that's not a bad thing. Back in 2017, 2018, like everything that happened on Ethereum was just ICOs. A bunch of vaporware, a bunch of random tokens that didn't do anything. No one knew what was going to happen with it, but that was where all the activity came from. If you think last cycle, most of the activity came from NFTs, which again, turned out to all be vaporware, etc. But the key is it brought a lot of users, both of those things, even though ICOs kind of worked out, but like not really. NFTs kind of worked out, but like not really. It brought a lot of users. And when it brings a lot of users, it brings a lot of capital. And then you can start to build other things. And now we have DeFi that's huge on Ethereum, right? You have staking that's huge on Ethereum. You have all these other things that branched out because we had kind of casinos. Solana is at this point right now where it's pretty much all meme coins. Okay. There's not much else going on. Yes, they have DPIN and they have DeFi and stuff, but like it's actually not much activity. There's not much value coming from those things, but that's not to say that it won't come. And I think all those things will come. And so first, if I'm thinking about how to invest in Solana, I'm going to go, okay, well, I know most activities on memes. So how can I, if not buying a meme, which maybe buying a meme could be one of your answers, but if not that, how can I buy the picks and shovels that are around memes? Because obviously that's where the things are at right now. And then I want to think about, okay, if memes make it or they don't make it, what else is going to benefit from that, right? What might come? In the Ethereum world, after all the craziness, DeFi did really, really well and became like the it thing, right? So, okay, maybe DeFi is going to be a big thing on Solana. Staking is obviously a big thing on Solana or proof of stake networks in general. And so like there's a good way we saw in that chart, Jito is making a lot from these meme coins, which is a liquid staking token. And so, okay, staking, DeFi, these are all things that are likely going to flourish because that's what happens when you have an economy that starts to grow. The banking infrastructure, i.e. DeFi, starts to grow. The security infrastructure, i.e. the staking, starts to grow, or the yield on the native asset. So I would start to think about those things in that they might not be the it thing right now, but they're probably going to come as more and more activity happens on Solana. And then, of course, you got to find a way to capitalize on this meme coin craze because I don't think that stops until this cycle stops.
Yeah, it's definitely feeling like it's the cycle of meme coins. But I really like your perspective that investing in meme coins is difficult and much more risky. Investing in picks and shovels is a more milkman approach, a more adult, mature approach to investment because you're investing in the things that are more likely to maybe a little bit of a less high ceiling, but a much more secure floor. One of the charts that you have showed and the Milk Road Pro team has shown us a lot is looking at how the different protocols are achieving revenue. What is the revenue they're bringing and how does that compare to their current price action? I want to bring up that chart and just have you explain what you see here.
Yeah, so it's not just Solana that's getting, a lot of value accrued to its token. It's the protocols on Solana are starting to do really well as well. You can see Jupiter is the first number one protocol driving $75 million in revenue. I believe that's this year. Yeah. So if we look at annualized revenue over the last 90 days, and this is from data that ended in end of September, Jupiter's number one at 75 million, Raydium number two at 63 million. Both of those are DEXs, by the way. Jupiter is just an aggregator. Raydium is actually the most used DEX. We'll talk more about that in a second. Then we get into Jito, as I just mentioned, which is a staking provider, someone that makes a bunch of money from tipping and from MEV, et cetera. And then we get into more DeFi stuff. You got Camino, Metaplex, Drift, et cetera, Marinated. And the final one is actually DePIN, which is Helium. So And these are in the tens of millions for annualized revenue. So pretty solid. Solana had nothing like this last cycle. And so finally, for the first time, you have a growing ecosystem on Solana. You don't have a ton of tokens in Solana like you do Ethereum, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, depending. But there's at least tokens now you can invest in and try to capture some upside as the Solana ecosystem continues to grow.
What about the revenue multiple that is shown here? That also really stands out to me. What do you see when you see that? I'm seeing revenue multiples anywhere between 40 to 920 times revenue multiple currently.
Yeah, helium looks a little bit overvalued, I'd say, from those numbers there. The big juggernauts, Jupiter and Jito, are 118x and 144x. That's basically like how are they valued versus their annualized revenue. It's very high. There's no doubt about that. But things like Raydium is actually quite low, 14x. So it's actually that's better than like the S&P 500, for example, which is crazy for an asset that has the potential to grow as much as something in crypto does. So it's hard to do these revenue multiples, especially in a bull market, because these numbers will just get insanely blown out. Like I think Nvidia right now is like a 75x or something. And so is 118x that bad? I mean, it doesn't sound great, but the thing can go way more. So in a bull run, which as we're going to do here, the top 5 tokens to invest in, this is for this cycle. So this is not like for me to hold money forever. This is like over the next 12 months, maybe. And so I care a little less about the revenue multiple, but obviously understanding what it's currently valued at matters, but probably a little bit more at this time, or a little less.
Okay. So let's jump in without further ado. Top 5 tokens on Sol for this cycle, as you said, key to understand the trade and the timeline that we're suggesting here. Not financial advice. Obviously, do your own research. But let's start with number. Also, these are not in a particular order. It's not like we order these from best to worst or anything. These are just 5 that we like. Let's start with number 1, Jito.
They are not in order, but this is definitely my favorite one of them all, which is Jito. So this would be my number 1 for multiple reasons. So Jito is one, it's just an absolute beast. Their team is amazing. They've been around for years. They chewed glass with Solana for a long time. And Jito, for those that don't know, is basically the Lido of Ethereum plus Flashbots of Ethereum plus Eigenlayer of Ethereum. It's all those all in one. And so you combine the market caps of Lido, Eigenlayer, and Flashbots. It's pretty huge what they're doing. And the thing is that Jito just dominates market share for liquid staking tokens on Solana. It's like 90% of all liquid staking tokens, something around there is Jito Sol. And so there's a few reasons why I'm so bullish on Jito right now. One is the meme coin craze is driving a lot of revenue to validators. And most of the validators in Solana are coming through Jito. If you bring up that first chart you had, you can actually see the Jito fees, I think are more than 50% now. Not on this one, but if you go back to the Blockworks one, the very first one, the economic value one, yeah, so you can see tips or Jito is the light green, and that's already 50% of it all. And then Jito also gets some from some of the others here. So Jito is just making an absolute shit ton right now. And so a lot of that is becoming because of meme coins, right? There's a lot of activity. So I mean, there's a lot of fees going to Jito. But then the other thing is that something like 65 to 70% of all Sol is staked currently. But I think only like 5% maybe is actually liquid staked. So meaning is held in like a Jito Sol or a Jupe Sol, etc., where you can actually take it and do more things with it, put it in DeFi. The other rest of it, so like 90 whatever percent of it, is just delegated to a validator. So you can't do anything with it. And you actually make less by doing that, and then you can't put it in DeFi. So it doesn't actually make any sense to hold that. For example, over on Ethereum, almost like a large percent, like most of the ETH that's staked is done in a liquid staking provider rather than just like delegate stake, because it's not really a normal thing for Ethereum. And so I think there's a lot of room still for Jito to gain a lot more TVL, let's call it, or a lot more Sol being staked in Jito Sol. And so not only is its revenue going up for its existing Sol, its existing Jito Sol that's there because of meme coins and the increased activity happening in Solana, but I also think it still has so much more ways to go, because I think there's a lot of people that are going to undelegate their Sol and put it in Jito Sol, because then they can go use it in DeFi. Like, why would you not do that if you can actually do something with that capital? So I just think it has so much room to grow. And then not only that, there's the restaking play. And honestly, just the team of Jito is just an absolute beast. And so I just think they're going to continue to crush it. And they've also started to put a proposal out to start generating fee revenue back to the token. We don't know if that's going to go to the token or the team. Like, they haven't really said, but they've found a couple of ways where they're going to start generating revenue. And so if you can be pre-protocol generating revenue, like, that's obviously massive. So I'm super bullish on Jito. The only thing is, obviously, it has a higher valuation. I think we just said it's like 140x. It's not a hidden gem by any means. People know about Jito, but the thing is an absolute beast, and its revenue is just skyrocketing. And I think it's a kind of a levered bet in Sol, in my opinion. It's kind of a low risk way to capitalize on Solana.
Yeah, just looking at the revenue chart here, the revenue over the last year. A year ago, Jito was doing 100K a day in revenue, and fast forward today, and they're doing, anywhere between. Sorry, they weren't doing 100K. They were doing $100 in revenue, like $200 in revenue per day, like literally making no revenue per day. And fast forward to today, and they've been consistently above 100K for more than basically for 2 weeks now. But very strong revenue.
That's in 1 year. That's actually
1 year.
absolutely insane. And I think that's continues to grow like hockey stick curve. So like this thing is just lights out. It's an unbelievable investment. And pro tip, it has been an investment in the pro portfolio for a long time. One of our top investments. So that's the only alpha I'm going to give on the pro portfolio. If you are not a pro member, go become one.
You want more
next
alpha?
up,
Go
let's
pro.
go. We'll go another one that's like kind of the obvious one, and then we'll get into some other stuff. But the next one is Jupiter. So Jupiter is the main DEX aggregator on Solana. Most people on Solana use Jupiter. And so the main thing here is, yes, similar to Jito, Jupiter's revenue is growing as well. Its users are growing. Jupiter's launching more products. So it also just got into the liquid staking world. So it launched Jupe Sol recently. And it actually takes no fee. So it's even cheaper. And so you get a better return holding Jupe Sol than even Jito Sol. So has potential to compete there. But the real reason why Jupiter we're so bullish on is because it has all the users, right? So like when you interact with basically any DEX on Solana, you're usually doing it through Jupiter. And so it can control if you want to use Jupe Sol, and it can add more benefits to its other products. Again, a beast of a team. It's just becoming let's call it the Uniswap of Solana, except for the fact that it's an aggregator. And again, of course, meme coins, what do? You trade meme coins. Where do you do that? You do it on, usually through Jupiter. And again, Jupiter's an aggregator. So like if you're going to use Raydium, you're going to use anything else, it just does it all for you, finds you the best price. So Jupe is a beast. And it's one of those ones where it seems like an obvious trade. If you're bullish on Solana, you're kind of bullish on Jupe and Jito.
So you might as well hold Jupe and Jito. Okay, those are our two obvious ones, Kai. Let's go to a little slightly less obvious, but also still maybe obvious. What's the number 3 token that we're looking at today?
So sticking in the DeFi side, and the reason why we're going so much in the DeFi side is like, even if meme coins die down, but other areas pick up, you still need DeFi. And so like, let's say meme coins continue to grow, but then also DeFi grows and DePIN grows, et cetera. They're still going to need the ability to trade, right? They're still going to need the ability to do things in DeFi. And so it's kind of one of those things where like meme coins are giving it a boost in revenue now, but other things are going to catch up and it's just going to continue to have revenue. So the biggest beneficiary of meme coins right now, other than those investing in meme coins that are actually winners, is probably Raydium. So Raydium is where a lot of this meme coin activity is happening. And again, as I said, even if you're using Jupiter is usually using Raydium in the back end because it's an aggregator. And Raydium's revenues have just absolutely skyrocketed. And over the last, I don't know what we have here. This is for the last year. You can see on this chart. But its revenues have gone crazy. It's now earning $23 million in
last
a
month?
week.
In a week,
isn't it?
Yeah, that's a week.
In a week. So pretty wild numbers for an application on Solana, where they generally don't get that type of revenue. Like that's an annualized revenue of well over 100K, 200K or 200 million. Sorry. So it's massive. And what's interesting is like just a month ago, the numbers were way less. Like that chart you showed of all the different protocols on Solana that had Raydium around like, was it 60 million or something? That's more than double, tripled just in the last month. And again, this is just because meme coin activity has all of a sudden come back. And yet the valuation of Raydium has not gone up a ton. It's only 14x for revenue multiples. So it's still fairly undervalued. Now, I think maybe the reason is people aren't using Raydium specifically. They're using Jupiter and it's just done in the back end. So like maybe it's not always going to be there. I'm not sure. Like they don't have the users per se because Jupiter has the UX for the users, but it's obviously a beneficiary of meme coins. If meme coins continue to go up and continue to be traded, which I think they will, then Raydium is just going to continue to benefit from that. And so I think it's kind of an undervalued play at the moment. Is it something I would hold long-term? I don't know. I'm not super bullish on Raydium as like their team and like what they're building for the long term, but I think a short-term play, I think Raydium can be a really good buy right now.
Yeah, the other chart to look at is the total volume breakdown by DEX on Solana. What do you see here?
Yeah, this is insane. So if you look at all the dexes that are being used, Raydium currently, this is over the last, I believe, week or day, I'm not sure what we're looking at here, but 62% of all dex volume came from Raydium, from one dex. That's pretty wild. And it was not like that last year, right? This is like, has really grown over, let's say, Q2 and Q3 of this year. And really pushing the limits right now. It's kind of at all-time highs, basically at that 62%. So again, if meme coins continue, then I think it's going to continue to crush it. So Raydium looks to me like a great buy for maybe a short-term trade, let's call it.
Nice. I like it. And I like the exposure to meme coins, because as you said, if meme coins do well, Raydium does well too. And we all believe that meme coins are going to continue to perform well in this cycle. Let's go to the next one, number 4 on the list, which is maybe not as well known of a token, but I know one that you've been bullish on for a while. Honey. What's going on with Honey?
Yeah.
What is Honey, first of all? Let's start there.
Well, honey is this this food that comes from bees. No, I'm just kidding. Honey is is the token from Hivemapper. Hivemapper is a DPIN project on Solana. Many of you guys have heard of Helium. Obviously, that's taken the spotlight lately. Its token has done really well. Hivemapper, who's also been the other DPIN token or DPIN project that's like done really well, but its token has just done nothing and tanked and tanked and tanked. So Hivemapper is basically allows people driving to put this little piece of hardware in their car, like a camera, and it maps out the world, kind of like a Google Maps, let's say, and it pays you to do it. And what's interesting is they haven't been around that long, but they're already mapped out whatever percent of the world it is. They've done it way faster than Google and Apple could ever do. It was like light years more, like unbelievable numbers. And they've already started selling their data to 3 of the top map producers in the world. Now, we don't know the names. Maybe it's Google, maybe it's Apple. We don't know. But they already have like real customers there. The more customers they get, the more honey tokens are burnt. Now, they're not at a place where they're burning enough tokens at the moment. But the reason why I'm really bullish on Hivemapper is it is like the one example where this is not possible without crypto. And they have really, really crushed it. They have created a product that is so much better than the product that exists in Web 2 in terms of maps, and creating a better map than what Google Maps or Apple Map can, which can create new business models, new opportunities, new apps even that can't really exist on an outdated map. And you think of like when drones and AI and stuff, they're all going to need these maps, and they're going to need live updated maps. They can't use like these old kind of like slow maps like what Google and Apple do. And so I think this is going to be a very, very powerful tool in the future. Now, will that narrative catch on soon enough? I'm not sure. The token is getting absolutely wrecked. I think its FDV right now is something around like 300 million. And so it's very, very low versus basically everything else in Solana. And so the only reason I'm bullish on this is not because necessarily the tokenomics are good, or I think that that narrative is going to spin up. I have no idea. I just have seen everything else in Solana has gone up, and this thing continues to go down. Yet the fundamentals of just what this business is doing and the product they're creating is good, is really good. And yet it's just gone down and down and down all year. And so this is more of just like I'm bullish on the business. I'm bullish on the business model. At some point, this thing's going to catch a narrative, I think. And maybe it's when they announce that Google is now their customer or Apple is their customer or whatever. Like, I don't know, but it's going to come. And maybe this token goes down more. I don't know. One of the problems with DPIN is they do use their token to incentivize. So meaning people are getting paid in this token, which is creating sell pressure. But you got to understand that at some point they will figure this out. And whenever that flips, the token goes to Valhalla. And you want to be in before that. So this is not something I'd put a lot of money into. I don't know. It could continue to go down all year, all cycle. Like, I don't actually know. I'm really bullish on what they're building. And so at some point, the token's probably going to come and reflect that. And at 300 million, like it was at 2 billion, or like I think Helium is in the billions. So like if you're up there, okay, you don't really want to take a bet on that unless you really know something's happening. But at 300 million, like you're getting pretty low here. So it seems to make sense to me.
Yeah, 28% of the world, of all the roads in the world, have been mapped by Hivemapper in 20 months. So give them another 4 years, basically, at their current pace, they would map the whole world. Just give you an idea of the power of what they are building and how invested their community is in supporting this project.
Yeah, it's great what they're doing. Okay, the last one is going to be what everyone wanted this whole time, which was meme coin. And look, I'm not the meme coin genius by any means, which is why I prefer to invest in the picks and shovels, right? I'd rather hold Sol, or I'd rather hold Jito, or maybe Raydium if it makes sense, etc. But obviously, if you want to get into meme coins, is a great opportunity, especially on Solana. If this narrative continues, if the spotlight of Solana continues to go up, the meme coins are no doubt going to go up. Now, which meme coin? Look, this question I get asked every single day in our pro community, and my answer is always the same. Like, who knows? If you want to get into a meme coin and make 100x, or you want to make a lot, like, you have to get in before it's on Twitter or before anyone is talking about it on YouTube or on a podcast. And so, like, whatever token I tell you, if I say it now, it's already way too late, right? Like, you have to find it in like a Telegram group, or like know the person who created it, basically. Like, that's how early you have to get in. Now, you can still make money in ones that already exist, of course, but you're not getting your 100x's like everyone wants. Okay. And so there's still Dogwifhat and Popcat and all these ones that have been around for a while. Everyone knows those will still do well. But are you going to get 100x? 100% no. You're not going to get 100x on Dogwifhat. That's already, what, 3 billion or 3.5 billion. Like, that's just absolutely insane to even think that this thing is going to go to $300 billion. It's what Ethereum's worth today, right? So one, when I say when you're getting into meme coins, like, manage your expectations. You're not going to get the 100x unless, again, you buy it in something that's not being talked about on YouTube or Twitter. But if you are going to buy one that's already being talked about, one of the big ones, let's call them the blue chip meme coins. You got to figure out, like, which one are the ones that are just going to remain like present and has a piece in culture, right? And isn't going to just go away. Like, Goat is great right now, but if that AI bot all of a sudden, we realize it's a human, or it just doesn't become that cool anymore, like, that just goes away, right? A lot of the political tokens are going to go away in less than a week, right? But there's things like Doge that has been around for a decade, and it continues to be not only a relevant meme in crypto, but just a relevant meme on the internet. And so, of course, that token's continue to do well. You want to find what's the same thing on Solana. I think Dogwifhat is probably that. Bonk is cool and all, and it was great for the Solana community, but Bonk still has unlocks. And so, like, is that really like the meme coin vibes that we want? Not really. And so I know Joe McCann, I think, was the one bullish on that. I'm less bullish on it. I think it's had its time. I don't think it's a meme that will make it in culture. And I think it has unlocks and all the things that people don't love about meme coins. And so I think it had its moment. I'm less bullish on that now. I think Dogwifhat is the real, like, clean, clear, like, meme coin that has kind of made its way into culture. And I think if you're going to back one, the strongest horse, it's probably that one. The rest are huge, huge, huge gambles. I think Dogwifhat is kind of your, like, for sure bet that if Solana does well, this thing's going to rip and probably going to outperform Solana by a pretty large margin.
Yeah, what I like about Dogwifhat is that, as you said, it's a beta play to Solana, and it's the biggest meme coin in Solana. I mean, Bonk and Dogwifhat very close, but it feels like it's the easy path, right? It's the simple path. Is it going to 100x? No, definitely not. But could it outperform Solana? For sure, it could in this cycle.
The other interesting theory is there's a few people that always talk about, well, there's a certain amount of people in the world that like dogs. They love dogs, and that's why these dog memes do so well on the internet. And then there's also a certain amount of people that also love cats. And so if dogs can do well, cats can do well too, right? And so there's, like, this theory around, like, okay, if Dogwifhat can make this, then Popcat or another cat one has got to do this as well, right? It just kind of makes sense. There are cat lovers just as much as there are dog lovers. And so I guess, and this one's already at all-time highs right now as we speak, which is Popcat is kind of the picking up storm at the moment. I got to assume that if Dogwifhat does well, Popcat's going to fall. It's like the silver to the gold kind of thing. I think it's probably going to do the same. I'm not a cat lover, so I don't know. I don't have the vibes on that, but I do love dogs. So I got to be more bullish on Dogwifhat than Popcat. What about you, Jay? Are you a dog lover or a cat lover?
I mean, I got a dog, so I gotta go dogs as well.
Right.
But I think it's hilarious that we are deciding this based upon a poll of how many people in the world love cats versus
That's
love
what memes
dogs.
are. That's what
welcome
memes
to
are,
memes.
right? That's literally what memes are, and that's what you're choosing to invest in, which is why I say this is like ridiculous. And so maybe invest in the picks and shovels, and then you don't have to think about dogs, cats, or anything else, Pepe's, whatever, because other people will do that for you. The other meta right now, obviously, is AI agents and them beginning to invest, and we're just seeing the beginning of it. Will we have another one like Goat, where Goat was kind of the first, and so it was a surprise, and so it got the attention of culture. All these copycats that are probably going to come out starting very soon, I don't know that they're going to do as well as Goat, unless, again, it has that, like, the big thing with memes is it just needs that moment where it's just like, it didn't exist, and then boom, everyone heard about it all in one go, right? And if you can get in day one of that, that's the big thing with meme coins. But, like, now you're going to have a bunch of copycats of Goat. I don't think those are going to do well. I think they're going to be terrible. This is what you get with every meme coin. It's just you get one that explodes and everyone tries to copy it. So just be careful of that. That's what I would say.
Okay, so we got 6 here that we shared with you today. We got Jito, Jupe, Raydium, Honey, Whiff, and Popcat. Pick your pick your animal love, cat or dog, whether you want to go with Whiff or Podcat. And as we said, these are all trades for this cycle. I want to know, are you guys in any of these tokens? Which ones are you guys bullish on or bearish on? Or are there any other tokens on Solana that you guys are liking or following, or that you want to talk about? You want us to talk about on the show? Let us know in the comments. As always, please subscribe to the channel. Super helpful if you guys subscribe. And I think we're like 2 away from 10,000 subs right now. So if you are one of the next 2 to get in before we hit 10,000, you could win a bunch of free stuff that'll help you take advantage of this upcoming bull run. Kai, thanks so much for joining us again on today's show.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Thanks for listening in, everybody. Have a wicked awesome day. As always, if you liked today's episode, please hit subscribe and make sure you follow us so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, we're going to also leave a link for Milk Road Pro. You get access to our portfolio where you can see exactly what we are buying. This is your #1 resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this show is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Investing in crypto or any asset is risky, and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. Thanks so much for listening in, my friends. Have a wicked awesome day.